Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. First of all, I want to shout out our friend, Tommy Battle.
The photographer, our photographer.
Yes, one of our photographers, one of our great friends who is living out there in Brooklyn right now. And shout out to Tommy and his whole family. They're doing great. But I do want to say, Tommy texted us before, and he was like, listen, on top of COVID-19 being out there in the world, on top of earthquakes going on in various cities, on top of killer bees really happening in this world. What are they? Monster hornets?
No.
Monster hornets.
No, they're murder hornets.
Murder. Even worse.
Yeah.
Murder hornets.
Monster hornets.
I don't know.
That's like Larry Johnson in
Grandmama.
Space Jam.
On top of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Tommy said that this weekend, and I don't know when this episode is airing. I don't know when the weekend is.
Yeah.
But Tommy said there's supposed to be an epic snowstorm coming to the Northeast on Saturday.
Yeah. So, whatever. Honestly, of all the things, that doesn't seem so bad. I'm going to stay in the house anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, who cares?
In my mind...
Who cares about any of this?
In my mind, I'm operating like a regular weather situation here, where it's just like, oh, right.
Oh, I have to buy my groceries to prepare for the snowstorm. Oh, right. There's also a virus that is
literally keeping us inside. Yeah. So
I'm not worried about the snow. Couldn't care less about the snow. The street cleaner's gonna have a very easy week. There's nothing going on. There's no cars. It's a desolate city.
You're not afraid about tracking in any salt, on your boots?
I'm bringing the salt out.
Are you gonna?
Who gives a shit about snow?
I'm not gonna layer up to go, make snow angels and make some fun in your life, Jeff. None of that.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
In the past 2 months,
Yep.
my definition of fun has been very different than what I think your idea of what I would do with the snow. I'm like the Grinch. I could not care less about the snow coming.
Yeah.
There's nothing magical about snow in May.
When we go out food shopping at midnight, are you gonna get some hot cocoa?
Yeah. Sit by the window and just watch the snow come down, all these fluffy flakes. Fuck that.
You are
fuck the snow.
bitter.
Stuff sucks. Yeah. Who cares? Also, snow is never nice in the city. Let's just be real. It's dirty.
The truth finally comes out.
Yeah, now you got me unleashed. Snow is disgusting. It's full of pollutants when it's coming down.
Do you think that people...
It's like slush.
What was
disgusting. I don't want this.
What was it? Acid rain? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was a thing?
Do you remember chocolate rain?
Yeah, do I? Chocolate rain.
We should get him on. How is Tay Zonde doing in all this?
Can you imagine? Who do you want in that lineup? We've been doing these themed lineups. Today we have 3 engineers.
Yeah.
3 really, really top of the line, excellent engineers, mix engineers, recording art engineers.
Yeah.
No bridge engineers. But, next time.
Oh, it took me a second to understand what that meant. But you mean like an actual bridge, like an aqueduct.
Yeah, I mean like the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah, we have not had any mechanical engineers coming over. No.
We've been doing these themes. We've had people who work well together.
Yeah.
Maybe come from different areas, but all have a theme.
Who would go with Tay Zonde? I would say...
Oh.
Let's get some shoes. Oh my God, shoes.
Oh, you're going that direction. I thought you were going to go
shoes.
with... No, who's the kid who rapped...
Ice JJ Fish?
Nope.
We could get Ice JJ Fish on here?
Nope. The kid who rapped and he became like a meme and he became like a viral superstar, not for the right reasons. He was a bad freestyle rapper. And we were in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't act like you don't know.
Well, first of all...
You know exactly who it is.
It's Eli Porter.
There we go.
That would be a good one, but...
Eli... Tay Zonde, we need a third.
You're really moving on from the fact that you said, the rapper who became a meme for freestyling bad.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to guess.
Lil Mosey.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Literally anybody. Iggy Azalea.
Yeah. Okay. So Tay Zonde,
Eli Porter, and I want the kid that's like, he looks like he's like in a wind tunnel.
Who's that? You don't want to go with how about the one who did the Five Guys Burgers and Fries song.
That's a really good one. Although he wasn't actually behind it, which I guess makes the story more compelling.
What if we got the leprechaun from the tree? Finally, for the first time, that leprechaun from like Atlanta speaks, right? Or like Alabama, somewhere down south. Yeah, I don't know.
These are all good.
But listen, guys, we got a line on Tezonde.
Let's get Homestar Runner.
And
we have a line on Tezonde.
Porter.
Who do you think that he is a publicist?
Weirder things have happened. Believe me.
Yeah, snow in May. Fuck this.
Snow in May. Jeff, who's on the podcast today?
On the podcast today is Leslie Brathwaite.
There we go.
Yeah,
guys, we're not working at full capacity anymore.
We've talked to so many people today.
Leslie Brathwaite,
yeah,
who is a legend, right? A legendary mix engineer. Beyonce only deals with him. Pharrell only deals with him.
Beyonce does not only deal with him. We talked to him about how Beyonce worked with 4 different engineers, but
the Carters worked with them. Anyway,
yeah,
he is the mix engineer. Leslie is
Outkast, TLC, Monica,
Jeezy, Rick Ross, Jack Harlow, Lil Uzi Vert. I mean, Madonna. He is the guy that people go to get a really phenomenal mix on their music to make it give that extra oomph. Oh, Cardi B. There we go. Yeah. You have all of these major artists go to him. He brings, something special to the hi-hat, something special to the kick drum, something special to their voice.
Yeah, I do want to say, you do not have to be an engineer or even appreciate engineers to listen to this episode. We're not like super technical when we're talking about this stuff.
But what you do get from this is understanding the different pieces to making a song really go. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people who are at home right now, as we've talked about, who are learning to engineer for the first time. So if you're Crooked Eye or if you're Fabulous, you can listen to this episode and be like, oh, maybe that's what I will do.
Yeah, but
I will record low.
I just don't want to scare people off.
No, I think I think this is a really fun conversation with Leslie. Then we have a really fun conversation with Alex Tumay.
Well, it starts off crazy because Alex has he has overcome COVID-19. Crazy.
But Alex is also a legendary mix engineer, recording engineer. He has worked with everyone from Young Thug to
Party Next Door
to French Montana to Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign.
Everything that Kenny Beats does. And also just like a very internet savvy individual, good friend.
Yes.
I really enjoyed
great
talking
dude.
to him.
It was really great to catch up.
Yeah.
And he also had done some work with Leslie in the past, which is really neat. And then we get on the phone with Cruz.
From Meek Mill's camp.
Turn Me Up Cruz. And Cruz has his own world that he's living in. His in-laws' world.
Yeah, he just had a kid.
So he's on extended paternity leave, essentially. But it's great to catch up with him. We called him on Meek Mill's birthday.
Yeah.
And congratulations, by the way, to Meek Mill.
For also having a kid.
Who had a kid on his birthday.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the actual conversation,
yes,
I do want to say that we have a Patreon that we've set up, patreon.com/itsthereal. It's where people can, if you support us, if you support this independent thing that we've built,
yes,
and if you like just good organic conversations, and you want to support that, when you want to contribute, go to patreon.com/itsthereal.
Or if you're a fan of, our sketches, our music, our other ventures that we have designs on bringing back and moving forward through all of this, if you want to be an investor in us, the best way to do that is to go to patreon.com/itsthereal and contribute what you can, $2, $3, $5, $10, whatever you can per month. It all goes a long way, and we have givebacks every different tier. So, there's a tier where you get free t-shirts every so often. There's a tier where you get to be involved in Zooms that we do. There's lots of givebacks. There's lots of opportunities to be a part of something special, and that's what we believe this is. So if you fuck with It's The Real, go to patreon.com/itsthereal. And now, Jeff, let's call down to Atlanta and get on the phone with Leslie Brathwaite.
Hello.
Leslie!
What up?
Yo.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Listen, first and foremost, how are you and your family doing through these very uncertain days?
We're doing great. Wonderful. I'm just taking it easy. I'm sorry. Who am I speaking to? I have no idea.
Oh. Lake put us on text. It's Eric and Jeff from It's The Real.
Oh, yes. Hey. I was like, who am I talking to?
Do you think you won like a contest?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right.
Come in with like a bunch of
"Hey."
energy, and it's just like, sure.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, what am I winning?
I know. Leslie, as a mix engineer, your ears and your soul are in sync. How do you yourself reset and give yourself a rest? Like, do you listen to podcasts? Do you sit outside and meditate? Do you take long showers? How do you get away?
I think my version of, I call it sniffing the coffee beans when you want to reset your palate.
Mm-hmm.
My version of that is video games. I get on the Xbox and I go nuts on Call of Duty, and it helps me reset my brain. And resetting is also a constant process. And so what I like to do is when I'm mixing, I always have something playing in the background. Like I'm watching ESPN most of the times. And what that does is it allows your brain to kind of, you know, when you see, like, if the TV's on and you're mixing and then you see a crazy play, like, you know, Tom Brady throws a ridiculous pass and you look up, it kind of helps your mind reset from the thing that you're thinking about constantly, and you get like a fresh perspective, you know, even just for a second. If your mind veers off and looks at something and then you come back to hearing the snare that you're trying to fix, it kind of gives you a little perspective.
How often do your ears get tired?
I think fatigue is more so based on, it's weird, because I take a lot of breaks, I don't get tired often per se, but I think for me, I just know my limits, and I know when, it's more of a feel thing. I know when I'm just not in it, when I'm just kind of checked out for the day, and then okay, it's time to start tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You did Monica's Don't Take It Personal, which was like the first thing that people can look at and be like, wow, Leslie did that. So who was the first person to reach out and say, like, good work, or to ask about working with you?
As far as after that?
Yeah, after that.
Well, in that era, it was more so, my career was more so kind of centered around Dallas, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of was an internal thing. It was kind of one of these things where I did the rough mix for that song. And then Clive Davis in Dallas kept trying to get it mixed by, like, you know, I think it went through 9 different iterations of mixes with 9 different mixers.
Wow.
You know, Dave Way was one of them, who I highly respected. I loved all these guys. But the thing is, they were always trying to get back to the essence of their rough mix. And Clive Davis finally said on a call one day, why don't we just use Leslie's mix? And so when that became the thing, I think that was the eye-opener for Dallas to be like, I need to start just letting Leslie mix a couple other things, because if Clive Davis was cool with his mix, and I'm cool with his mix, I think he was always cool with the mix. I think he was just nervous that, and he had explained this to me later, where he just thought Clive wouldn't go for, this young new mixer, and Clive didn't care. Clive just liked the energy of the record.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that situation kind of helped propel him into letting me mix more. So it was more of an internal thing where Dallas started using me a lot more for mixes and catapulted my career that way. And then it kind of trickled into whoever he would be working with. Like Madonna came to work with him, and then she pulled me out to LA after she came to Atlanta to work with us, and was like, I love working with Leslie. Leslie's sound is great. You know, it just kind of skyrocketed from there.
Have you ever met a music man anything like Craig Kalman?
You know what? Craig is very unique in a sense of he knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows, he's very dialed in. But he's also, he possesses one of those kind of weird, unique qualities in a sense of he's very dialed in, he knows what he wants, but he also respects that I have a talent that I'm bringing to the table too.
Mm.
So he's very respectful of how he like involves me or wants my involvement or asks for my input, or, you know, but he has also a very specific, when we're doing I Like It Like That, I mean, that song was the embodiment of all of his kind of creative genius, but he also was very like involving and asking my opinion and saying, hey, do you think it should sound like this, or what do you feel? And so it is very cool to work with Craig.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was the smallest thing that you guys disagreed with about I Like It Like That?
I'm trying to think. What did we disagree on? I don't know that. It's weird, but I don't know that we've had disagreements on things. I think he was very locked into. I remember when we were mixing the version where the sample was replayed. Mm-hmm. And he was very involved in how the replay sounded and very dialed in. And I was just kind of like along for the ride. Like he would be like, Leslie, let's get it closer. And I'd be like, okay, let's do it. And then I'll work on it, get it closer. And then he'd be like, yep, that's it. Let's get it a little closer. Can you do anything else to make it sound okay, cool, let's go. I'm one of those guys who it's weird, and I'm not trying to make myself sound perfect, but I just don't get into conflicts with producers or artists. I'm the let's go, whatever you need, because I realize I'm providing a service. So
yeah,
he has to walk away feeling like this is exactly what I want.
And you're perfect. I mean, like that's the other thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You played. I listened to an interview. You said that you played water balloon fights and hide and seek in the studio with TLC.
Oh yeah.
When's the last time you had that kind of relationship with an artist?
Interesting question. I think I have those relationships now in different ways. I think it's a lot less about the more childlike play. We were in our early 20s, late teens, early 20s back in the TLC days. I think now it's more so, it's still fun. We still do a whole bunch of laughing and giggling, and it was a ton of fun working with Cardi.
I bet.
It was, how she is, what you see is what you get. That's how she is behind closed doors. She's never turned off. She's always turned up. And it was a ton of fun working with her. And so it's like that in general with most of the artists I work with. It's always usually we've kind of realized that we got to have fun.
Yeah.
So it's not to the level of water balloon fight.
No, you're not like running around, like in the same way that you were, but sure. But so, I know that Chili sang Scrubs with gum in her mouth, but yes. What's another, we know some stories about how CeeLo has recorded while he's lying on his back on a couch, or how Rick Ross has been rapping while getting tattooed.
Yeah.
So is there any artist tick that maybe we don't know about that you've had to record and you've been like, well, this is certainly a challenge that I didn't know that I would have to deal with today?
One day, and I think we kept this take, but one day when we were doing Pink's album, I think it was the Misunderstood album, she was doing a handstand while doing her vocals. So I thought that was pretty interesting. She's one of those people who, probably of all the artists I've worked with and gotten to know, she has some of the most interesting and a wide dynamic range of quirky talents.
Well,
I would put her.
Is there a why?
Her and Justin Timberlake are in the same category, and both of them have these traits where they're amazingly good at everything they do,
including handstands.
Yeah, but why?
You said why?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no idea where she acquired all these skills. I know she's you can see it in her shows now, but she's gymnast level.
Yeah.
She's ridiculous.
But you also
she's
someone has to set the mic up down there and be
like,
oh
Carlton, the recording engineer at the time, he was like, yeah, we're just trying this. I walked in and she was doing a handstand and doing vocals, and I cannot remember if we kept those vocals or not. I'm not sure because I was mixing at the time. So.
Yeah. I sort of hope that you guys at least just keep the legend of it. Be like, oh yeah, she definitely did, and let it grow.
Yeah. Leslie,
there's quite a few quirky talents going around. Justin Timberlake, like I said, that guy, he's one of those guys who's just amazingly great at everything he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leslie, you've worked with a wide array of artists, Beyonce, Pharrell, Jeezy, Uzi, Jack Harlow, and each one has a very unique voice and a unique way that they use their instruments. Is there one through line that you find through all of these talents?
Yes. What I do, I think the one thing I notice the most out of the people who are the most successful, the people who have the most success and the people who have consistent success, is they possess all of the intangibles, the things you can't teach. The politeness, the gratefulness, the drive, the energy, it's all of those things combined, and it's usually a nice pizza of a lot of different slices of those things, because I've had people who are incredibly talented, who have all the drive, but they're complete assholes, and then you can't really sustain a career like that. And some people manage to do it, but for the most part, what the common thread is usually all the things you really can't teach people. You can't really teach. I can teach somebody how to be great at something. I can't teach them how to want to be great. You can't teach desire. And so when you see all of these common traits in someone like a Cardi B or Pharrell or Beyonce, you realize why they're successful. I mean, I look at Cardi, I was in awe of the fact that she was pregnant, while we were mixing the album, and she was up recording vocals, doing everything she could, and she wasn't complaining. She had a great attitude. She would leave at night. One night we were leaving, and it's 4:00 in the morning, and she was walking out the door, and she stops herself, and she turns back and goes to the front desk girl who went and got her food that day and said, "Thank you." Those are the things you can't teach people, and those are the things that inevitably add to a person's long-term success. Can't teach that.
Leslie, when did you realize that you were great at what you do?
I'll let you know when that happens. I don't know that I've ever, obviously I know I'm good at what I do. I know I'm, there's a lot of, accolades and Grammys and all that to kind of set to put out some type of a metric on what I do. So I get that I'm good at what I do. I don't think I would ever say I'm great at what I do. Somebody else can say it, and if that's how they feel, cool. But I'm always just striving. I'm always just trying to be better, trying to be good. I think to put the question in more of a tangible perspective from my end, when I knew that I was really solidified in doing what I'm doing is when I started hearing my stuff back in place. Like, I'd be on vacation and I hear my mix playing, and then I see a family of people singing this song, or those kind of things started happening. I started going, "Oh, this is real. I might stick with this mixing thing. It's working."
One of your mentors is Bruce Sweeting, Quincy Jones's mix engineer. What, in your estimation, makes Thriller so special from a mixing standpoint?
What made Thriller super special is the energy that Michael and Bruce had. And when I've heard that process in particular, because I've asked a ton of questions when I got around them in '95.
Yeah.
I've heard the description of that process from Quincy, from Bruce, and from Michael. And what I can pull together as the common thread that they all said is the bond and the trust they had in making that album was next level, and they wish they could duplicate. All of them kind of said in one way, shape, or form or another, they wish they could duplicate that process and duplicate what that meant and how that came out. And I think it's just that, when you have a cohesive bond of, like, not just bonding like water balloon fights and all that, which is what we did with TLC, but with that also comes trust. It also comes that, you get to know this person, So there's a certain level of, I think, just chemistry that happened on that album that was just magical. And Michael trusted Bruce, and Michael trusted Quincy. Quincy trusted Michael. Quincy trusted Bruce. It's a whole lot of trust that comes into making an album. And I think that's what kind of ties back to my answer about Craig is he's very talented. He knows what he wants, but there was so much trust in how we worked together. He trusted that he can ask me for something and I would deliver. He trusted my opinion, even though I can see he slightly saw something differently. He would be like, you know what? But if you like it, let's go with it. There's a certain level of trust. And Beyonce is like that. She's the same way. As a lot of people have a very different opinion of how she is, but there's so much trust in how she works. She always, at the end of everything, anytime she levies an opinion or a mandate for something, she always follows up with, well, how do you feel about it? Do you like it? What do you think? Do you think I'm going off the deep edge? That's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, like to count. I mean, like you also have to have trust in her, but also in when you were recording the Carters, like you have to also trust Young Guru and everybody else who was working on that project. There were like 4 mixing engineers, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I
Of
mean,
course.
like talk about that process of like how you all work together
Toward a
mixing.
common goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's really cool, I'm gonna tell you, especially on Beyonce's last few albums, with the Carters in particular, the way we worked as a team, me, Young Guru, Tony Maserati, Stuart White, and there were a couple other, Chris. I forgot Chris' last name. Chris's last name is, I want to say his last name is Gallagher. I might be wrong.
Carter Knowles.
But
yeah.
but there were a few of us that worked, as mix engineers on it, and we mixed in a very different form where it wasn't like I had 2 songs to mix and Guru had 2 songs to mix. It was I was mixing a song and then Guru would send me some files and be like, hey, can you mix my drums real quick? I like how you have your 808 sound. And then I would send mine to Tony and be like, hey, can you touch up her vocals? And we were like mixing in this very cohesive unit kind of way, and that's kind of indicative of how we are as a group of colleagues. I mean, a lot of us mix engineers, we really look out for each other. We don't look at each other as competition, and it is based on trust. It's based on, I know when something's coming from Guru or from Mike Larson, who's Pharrell's recording engineer, I know it's going to sound perfect, and I know what I'm dealing with, so I know I can then say, if I get a call from Craig and he says, hey, I need to mix this Cardi B album in a week, one of my questions is going to be who recorded it. And when that name comes back and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. Yes, I can do it in a week.
Yeah.
Or,
I know
it might be like that bad that you're like, it might need a few months.
Right. Yeah, and if it's a name I don't know, and in the case of Cardi B, I didn't know Evan at the time. Evan was her recording engineer. So one of the questions I asked when Craig asked me, hey, can you mix this album in a week? We need you right now. We got to get this done. She's pregnant, da-da-da. I said, well, who's the recording engineer? He said, it's Evan, but it's good. Trust me, all the stuff is recorded really well. Now the trust shifts to Craig because I got to trust that he knows what I need to be able to work efficiently because I don't know Evan. Got to know Evan, and he's amazing.
Leslie, which artist do you have the best shorthand with?
Ooh, I would say probably the 3 people I just mentioned. Pharrell for sure, Beyonce definitely, and Cardi definitely. We developed a nice shorthand, so it's very seamless to. I could say that about a lot of artists, though. Artists I've been mixing over the years, like Rick Ross, Jeezy for sure. I mean, very little conversations that have to happen now because I get them, they get me. That kind of thing. But if I had to, if you made me narrow it down to one,
which we are,
by default, it would probably be Pharrell, just because I probably work with him the most.
Well, when you did Thug Motivation 101, that sound, that movement was so different, and Jeezy was essentially a new artist. How do you approach that in terms of communicating and receiving what he brings and wants from that project?
And it's interesting that you say that, because on that particular project, he wasn't that much a part of the creative decision making as far as mixing and sound. He just laid the vocals, and then we did our thing. And a lot of the creative back and forth, a lot of it actually, to be honest with you, came from me. Everybody was trusting me in that process, whether it's the producers. I've mixed all of Akon's records, so Akon was one of the producers on Soul Survivor. Or like Manny Fresh did the first single, and then what? And me and Manny are really good friends. I mean, he's my daughter's godfather, for Christ's sake. So,
wow.
Yeah, so there was so much trust there. There wasn't really a whole lot of conversations about what creatively this is going to sound like. It was just, let's go. Let's make a great album.
Which album made you sit up straight because it was such a breath of fresh air?
Ooh. Cardi B.
Really?
Yes. I was the one singing the praises of, I remember telling Lon Ray.
Shout out to Lon Ray, yeah.
Yes, I remember telling Lon Ray, we were eating lunch one day, and it was like, I was probably like 3 mixes in. Oh, sorry, hold on, alarm people just started. I gotta walk to the other side of the neighborhood. We were probably like 3 mixes in, and we were sitting there having lunch, and it's just me and Lon Ray, and I was like, Lon Ray, this album actually is sounding incredible. And I had just heard 2 more songs that I hadn't mixed yet. I think I had just got the files for I Like It Like That and something else. And I said, this could be the best rap album this year. Like,
wow.
for real. Like, I was like, it's really that good. And I'm not just saying it because I'm mixing it. I've mixed a ton of albums. But sometimes you get that feeling that you're working on a really good body of work. And I think here's what really surprised me and shocked me about her album. It's that when we were doing it, she was coming off of the hype of Bodak Yellow. And so nobody thought she could make an album that could live up to Bodak Yellow, including me. I even had my doubts. I was going, okay, yeah, we're going to mix this Cardi B album, but I doubt anything on here is going to be living up to Bodak Yellow. And then sure enough, single after single, I start mixing. I'm going, oh shit, this is a really good album.
Yeah.
So it really kind of got my attention, and like you said, made me stand up a little straight and, kind of respect it for what it was. And I really enjoyed it as I was mixing it. Well, I was able to enjoy it as I was mixing it as a rap fan.
I mean, that's got to be the best feeling, because then it doesn't feel like, work. It's just like you're enjoying the process as opposed to,
exactly.
Being paid to do this thing.
Exactly.
What is the phrase, like, I know that you worked with Outkast, you did a B.O.B., Bombs Over Baghdad. How many times did you hear By Crunk Music, Electric Revival, just like in a row?
Yeah, it's interesting how certain records just get embedded into your DNA. It's funny, the way I even like map my life out in my brain, I remember events and things based on what I was mixing or what I was, that's the kind of way my brain works. Like, I remember what I was doing when I mixed the Stankonia album. Like, I was actually sick. I had a really bad flu. I had booked a ski trip, and the day before leaving for the ski trip, I was going to Colorado. Andre calls me and goes, "Hey man, what are you doing? We got to turn in our album by January 1st." He called me 2 days before Christmas.
Oh.
And was like, "Hey man, we got to turn in our album by January 1st. What are you doing?" And I was like, "What the fuck do you think I'm doing? I'm mixing your album." So I called all the people I was going on a ski trip with, canceled the ski trip, and mixed Stankonia.
Man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Can you compare what Atlanta felt like, 20 years ago to where it is today? Because there's two, as far as we see it, two very specific generations and two different energies, but both very powerful. And Atlanta certainly now is like, it's like almost taken for granted how powerful it is down there. In '98, you're carrying off of that, like, Outkast wave and seeing things move and seeing the center of hip hop move more south. Now it's just sort of understood, but both great energies.
Yeah, and I think what happens in a city like Atlanta, like you said, I mean, there's so much of the music scene now that is driven by Atlanta. Like, for instance, all of the writers that write with Beyonce and Rihanna and Chris Brown, they're all from Atlanta. They all live here. Mm-hmm. And I work with them all the time. I know most of them. And so it's all of this energy that's driven by Atlanta. What's interesting about a city like Atlanta is when you have a city like New York or Chicago or LA, right? Let's pick those three. Mm-hmm. Or Houston. What you have is people who are from those cities, who have lived in those cities for generations, their families, da-da-da. So there's a certain camaraderie around the city. There's a certain feeling about repping New York and repping Chicago. And these are people who have getting attacked by a bird.
Wait, what?
No.
This has absolutely been the most like chaotic phone call that we've had to this point.
Yeah, wait, what kind of bird?
You got killer birds on the street.
Yeah.
I was walking by one of my neighbors.
Man.
So
that's a different kind of Atlanta energy. You know?
Wait.
Right. Right.
I do like that you're like ready to still answer this question after just like this traumatic event has just happened.
So it's the energy of those cities where you have people who are from those cities. They represent, in a sense. In Atlanta, nobody who lives in Atlanta is from Atlanta.
Right.
So because of that, there's a different type of silent partner type of energy, in a sense of like, you just don't hear the rah rah. Hey, it's Atlanta. You just don't get that from this kind of a city because most of the people who live here aren't from here. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
And specifically with Uzi and with Jack Harlow, what kind of expectations did you have in working with young artists like that? And what have you seen as they've put out a couple of projects and some more projects after that?
It's interesting. What I've come to learn about new artists is I've come to shed expectations. I've come to not even buy into this is what I'm expecting from this artist, because I've been to that point in those points in my career where I worked with an artist. I thought they were going to be the next best thing. They ended up doing nothing. Or some artists, I just was like, okay, this is a waste of time, and then they ended up being the biggest thing ever. So it's one of those things where you kind of develop this mechanism for how you approach what you work on. You just give it all your best, because if you fall into that mode of expectations and what you think this project could do versus what this project can do, I think that starts to taint your approach. For some people it can. And so I've tried to stay away from early categorization of, is this going to be a hit, or is this going to be something special, or Uzi's going to be special, or Jack's going to be special. I just approach it all like, you know what, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to just see where it goes and just have fun looking at it blossom into whatever it blossoms into, and it makes it more fun. With all the expectations, it makes it less fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you do with expectations is you never feel like what you did was good enough. If it went platinum, you're like, oh, I should have went double platinum.
Leslie, before you go, this is, while everybody's in quarantine and, slowly coming out of it, everybody's sort of recording themselves at home. There's a lot of people who have, not been able to go to studios and stuff. What's one small piece of advice you can give to everybody who's trying to record themselves to make the process a little bit easier?
Don't limit your thinking. Don't limit how you approach trying new stuff. And I'll give you a perfect example. I'm currently mixing in my truck. Like literally, I have my Focals, I have my KRK sub in my truck.
Wow.
I'll send you a picture if you want.
Please.
It's actually pretty fun. And what the theory there was, okay, we always go to our cars to check our mixes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an aux input in my truck. I have a Cadillac Escalade. And so at first I started just with the Apollo plugging into the aux input and seeing how things sound as far as mixing live. And it sounded really good because I reference mixes in there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, I got to really, go full steam on some of these mixes. Let me bring my actual setup in, my vocals and my sub, and they can fit. And I found a way to fit everything in. And just when you think about the environment of a truck where none of the surface are parallel, even the ceiling is, cloth. Most of the surfaces aren't reflective. The reflective surfaces aren't parallel. You have a carpet. It's designed to dampen sound. It's actually the perfect mix environment. So I say all that to say, don't limit yourself to thinking, oh, you got to set up a mic in the closet and put up some sheets and record. Figure it out. Go record in your car. See how it sounds.
Absolutely.
It might actually come out sounding good.
Yeah. Well, listen.
This makes me want to start doing handstands while we record.
Leslie, this has been a real honor for us. Thank you for spending your time with us. Hopefully on the other side of this, we'll head back down to Atlanta, link up at Mean Streets, and have a real hour-and-a-half long podcast and hear your entire journey. But until then, be well, take care of yourselves, you and yours. Stay creative and
don't get attacked by any more birds.
Yeah.
I see the bird coming again. I'm going to start walking really fast.
Now, Jeff, let's go to the Lower East Side and get on the phone with our friend, Alex Tumay.
Hello.
Alex!
What up?
How are you?
Alive?
Yeah. Well, actually...
Yeah, that could have been a different answer.
Let's get right to it.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. Should I put headphones on? Is that better for you guys?
I don't care.
Let's try it. Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, you're the engineer. You would know better than me. Should you put
do I sound better now?
You do.
Wow. Wait.
Yo, shout out to the ghost of Steve Jobs.
Yeah. He did that when he did that.
Right.
Yeah.
He died for this to happen. Alex, only a few weeks ago, we saw you tweet and put out into the public that you had some really, really, really bad health issues. How did this come about? What did you feel, and how did it go down?
Well, so I mean, work obviously takes me to and from studio mostly. It's kind of an enclosed space, and I don't really get out much, but I do interact with a lot of people. And right when all this coronavirus stuff kind of really got started, all the stay-at-home orders and whatnot, I started to get all of the major kind of symptoms that they were describing. I never got an official test because I was worried that if I didn't have it, my immune system would have been highly compromised.
Yeah.
So it would be a huge mistake to go somewhere where I would, get
Be
it.
around it, yeah.
But yeah, I was had fever, chills, hard time breathing for about a week. It was scary. I mean, I assumed that I had, moderate symptoms and not serious ones, but having a hard time breathing for any amount of time is not fun.
Yeah.
But also yours went away and came back. You hadn't for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I think honestly about 3 to 4 weeks I felt like shit.
As in, at night, you couldn't, for sure fall asleep because you weren't sure whether you would wake up, right?
Yeah, I mean, me and Guapta talked about it because he had a lot of similar symptoms where, you take breathing for granted, which is weird to say. When something so automatic just becomes something that you have to focus on.
That's very scary.
It's scary.
Do you have PTSD from it?
No, I wouldn't say that.
But I mean, do you think about that time at all? Or does it feel in the past?
Honestly, it's, if anything, it's maybe a little of a germaphobe and a little agoraphobic. I don't going outside to me right now is something that I think about often.
So
where it was
when you
not so.
Yeah, when you got this, how did it affect your entire day? Did you eat the same? Did you walk around the same? Did you just sit down and sort of try to get through hour by hour?
Or were you sleeping all day?
I was resting a lot, so I was just laying down and concentrating on, because especially when I was experiencing symptoms, there was no consensus on what helped and what didn't, or what it was, or what to do, or what was moderate or what was severe. All of the websites that had any sort of information had conflicting information to what was a severe case, when to go to the doctor, when to call anybody. It took me 2 weeks, I think, of symptoms before I freaked out and called my doctor and got some medication to combat a lot of the symptoms, which helped a lot. I got an inhaler, an anti-bronchial, something or other, and an antibiotic.
Yeah. Did you take more showers than usual? How did you sort of
Yeah, I mean, I was drinking so much tea. I think we went through a box or 2 boxes of tea a week at that point.
Jesus.
Which is 40 packs of tea in a box.
So all you're doing is just drinking and then going to the bathroom?
Yeah, drinking hot tea, and then there's that home remedy where they were saying to boil water with orange peels and breathe in the steam, and whether or not that actually helped, it did make me feel mentally better.
Yeah, you were doing something.
Yeah.
How did this all affect your work? Did that come to a screeching stop?
No, I mean, I stayed home, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just went back to my 2017 setup of just a laptop and just my home speakers and my home interface and was just working that way.
So obviously, back in 2017, you could do that work at a coffee shop. You could do the work at someone's home. You could do that work, wherever you found yourself.
In the back of like Ubers and stuff.
Now you're, you do have a home base, a studio that you could go to with bigger speakers, with a big, setup and a room that's built to properly hear things. What's the biggest difference between working at home off your laptop and working in the confines of a properly built studio?
I mean, the studio, it's not make or break, but it does make my whole life easier. My assistants can remote in now. So, right, like as we're speaking, I'm watching my assistant prep a session.
What is he doing?
And do mix notes. Right now they're flying in because the only note on this was that there was not a tag in the session. So
that's a good note.
Flew one of the producer tags in, and that was it. But yeah, it's like little stuff like that they can do that normally I would have to come all the way to the studio to do, or what somebody would have to come all the way to the studio. And now we have like a remote setup so they can control the computer. I actually haven't seen my assistants in a month and a half.
Wow.
I sent them home and I shut down the studio because it just didn't seem worth it. I know a lot of studios are still up and running. It's just we don't make enough of our revenue from booking sessions to keep them running. So,
are people more flexible with their deadlines now, considering everything that's going on?
I always, whenever somebody asks, I say I can do it, but it would, like, can I get an extra day just to, if I have to come to the studio, like I'm in the studio now, I usually, it's a lot harder for me to get here because I'm not going to take public transportation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on the subway. And I really don't like getting in Ubers because they almost feel more like dangerous to use right now than.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I have noticed that every Uber has the windows open.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They have the windows open, and a lot of them have like the plastic guard now.
Wow.
Yeah. But how often do you actually get outside?
Just twice a day to walk the dog, and once a week or twice a week to go to the studio.
Alex, in this time now where seemingly you could work all the time, and you already work all the time, but like it's like there's no separation between your work self and your private self now. Like people can hit you up at any hour, and I think probably expect you to respond right away because they're like, well, what else are you doing, right? How do you allow yourself to get away?
I still keep my same like turnaround time. So if someone asks something from me and it's not something that needs to be turned in the next day, I usually say a week or two, which gives me time to time to sit with the record, and B, time to fit it into my schedule without becoming overwhelmed.
Do you have a chance to like relax your ears, to turn everything off and like not listen to music?
Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly, I listen to music when I'm walking to the studio or walking back, and usually it's music that I've been working on.
But also, Alex is like playing Animal Crossing.
Oh, right.
That's that's what you've been doing.
Yeah, my town is crazy. That's it. I did build a studio in my house in Animal Crossing, so that feels kind of
real life.
Yeah, is that sort of like when Dwight Schrute made like his own Second Life character, and it's the exact same thing so that he can fly?
Yeah.
Like, what's the one difference in your Animal Crossing town? And I've never played Animal Crossing. I don't fully understand. I know there's like a raccoon that's like tricky.
Yeah. There's a raccoon that you are indebted to for months on end, and that's about it.
Oh, just like real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just exactly like what's happening in real life. The only difference is that my house in Animal Crossing is bigger than my apartment in real life. It's the only difference. I get to live my dream life of having more than one bedroom.
Well, given that you're working mostly at home, Do you listen back to your mixes on a variety of different speakers, or how do you change your environment when you go back to sort of judge whether you have done something positive or not?
Or do you just have your girlfriend sing it to you?
Yeah, she's of zero help. Like, she still doesn't understand, what I do, or what's going on. And like since we first started dating, I've like sporadically been like, hey, why don't you listen to this? Tell me if you like it better than the original. And she's like, which one's the original? I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've always been like a headphone first person whenever I'm not somewhere I am familiar with. So I have my headphones and they're the same everywhere. So whenever I'm home, those are what I'm relying on more than anything. In the studio, though, now that I have like a good room that sounds good and I have good monitors that I can trust, I'm actually in headphones less than ever. So it's weird to go back to being reliant on something that I'm honestly less familiar with than I was back in the day.
Is there anything to mixing low as opposed to mixing loud?
It just depends on the person. I mean, especially with rap and the way that low end comes through at low volumes, it's kind of like mixing quiet doesn't really make nearly as much sense as it does for songs with a lot more mid-range,
Yeah.
So when low end comes through quieter as you get lower, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the lower volumes you listen to, the less the low end comes through, and the higher, the more it comes through, up to a certain point. And around like, I think, what is it, 85 dB, I think it's like a flat response, or something around there, maybe 82, I don't remember exactly. But so I listen to music kind of at all different volumes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
what does your girlfriend listen to it at? What volume does she listen to it at?
Super loud.
Not at all. She listens to was it Things You Should Know? Is that the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Wait, why is she
that
listening to other podcasts when we have a podcast right here?
Because it's a music one. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about music.
Alex, when you have someone who comes in and is a singer and has a lot of range, right? And the singer might get like loud and then might do other stuff soft. Do you understand that beforehand? Do you listen to the person and know that they're going to have a giant range, or do you generally record low so you play it safe?
I think, especially with the way digital recordings work now, you can play it safe a lot easier, because noise floor and things that were huge problems back in the day, and clipping and all this, like your headroom's a lot larger and there's a lot more room for error. So you can, play it safe and record a lot quieter without getting a bad signal. But I usually record loud. I'm trying to hit the compressor in a certain way that gives the artist a little bit more confidence, because the more compression more good compression usually gives them more of like a strong kind of meaner sound. It kind of pulls confidence out of them.
Yeah, and you're not riding like the knob or anything.
No.
And when it comes to, we had one of our mutual friends, Kenny Beats, on the podcast, and he said the nicest things about you and listed a whole bunch of reasons why he really loves working with you, including the fact that you're not predictable. You don't just work in one corner of this giant genre.
Yeah, you're very versatile.
You're very versatile.
Is there anything good that you can say about Kenny Beats, knowing that he said good things about you?
I mean, I would say the same things about him. His versatility is his strength, and I think that's where the reason that we work so well together is that he can kind of fit, like wherever you need him to fit, he's going to fit there, and he's going to make it work. And he also, Eric and I were talking about the other day, but he's in every genre right now too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so whatever he throws at me, I feel comfortable in, and whenever he throws me something, I actually like. He's kind of adopted my recording template for the stuff that he does. So our workflow is very similar. So when I get stuff from him, I don't have to do nearly as much work as I do for a lot of other songs that I get.
Okay, but in our group chat, who would you say is the best member and who would you say is the worst member?
Of the group chat?
Of the group chat.
With all four of us?
Yeah. So the choices are me, you, Eric, and Kenny.
Okay. Well, I would say, who's the least active then? Is it Kenny or Eric?
I mean, that is a good question. I feel like Kenny, until you brought up Eric, I had forgotten that Eric was in the chat, to be honest. So I would say Eric is the worst member of the chat.
Yeah, because he doesn't use social media or
to the point where when Alex was on live the other day and I was in there commenting, he was like, "Hey Jeff," and I was like, "Nope," and he was like, "I don't believe you," and I was like, "Fine, take me live right now," and then he was like, "Oh, it's really you."
Yeah.
Well, I honestly thought that Jeff handed you the phone real quick. I still didn't believe it when I saw you.
Like, there are so many people who they comment and they're like, "Is this Jeff or Eric?" And I every single time I always say it's Jeff because Eric doesn't know how to use a phone.
So I'd say Eric by default becomes the worst member of the group chat.
Point taken.
Yeah, but then who's the best?
And then just
like,
because
do you have the
pick up
humility to understand that I am the best person in the group chat?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you pick up the slack of your brother, it's by default you have to win.
Yeah.
Alex, can we talk about some of the projects that you put out lately that you have felt especially proud of?
Yeah, sure. The Party Next Door one was crazy to work on. Like, I got a call from 40 in late October, and he was like, "Hey, I got some stuff I'm mixing, and there's just a lot of work I need to do. Could you come give me a hand?" And I thought that meant along the lines of just come and organize stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that's like, because that's what I felt comfortable doing with somebody so like prolific and accomplished.
Well, what was your relationship like before this?
We had like DM'd about music a couple times, and that's it. Like, it was very much. He said that he saw my Pensado's Place interview and agreed with a lot of my approaches to music.
Yeah.
And just wanted to try it out. So I just went up there and I mixed one song in a weekend, or I guess like 3 songs in a weekend, and left, and then heard the feedback, and they were like, "Oh, well, he didn't like any of it, but knowing what he wants now, you should try again." And I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll fly back up." And so like 2 weeks later, I went back up, and I did the whole. This is like November. I think I did 11 out of the 14 songs I did.
Wow.
In that 3 or 4 days.
Man.
And then got a lot better feedback, and just been working. Now I've been working with 40, since then.
That's really awesome. I mean,
a bunch of different stuff.
Who is the guy that you were telling me about? We went to a Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats show, and you were like, you have to get this guy from like that camp like on your podcast.
Oh, Prep?
Yeah.
Prep's awesome. He's a producer and an engineer for Party, and he's great. Well,
what do you really admire about his work?
I mean, he's just one of those engineer producer types that are in the shit 24/7. You know what I mean? Like Baines is with Thug now. Like, the two of them are like how I was with Thug in 2013, 2015. They are together 24/7, and that breeds a different kind of connection and a different kind of workflow and a different kind of product than, let's say, someone just jumping in every so often.
Well, what is it about Party that makes your brain think differently when you work together?
I mean, he just has a very specific endpoint for every song he works on in his head already. So it's a lot of like listening to where they left off and being like, where was he trying to go? Which I think is the case for a lot of people, but there's a lot more leeway, I think, with different artists, and you can hear kind of the end point when you hear the starting point or where they left off.
I think there's a lot of people who, consider that, you have the closest working relationship with Thug, considering all of your guys' songs together. But do you have someone these days who you have such a shorthand with that you guys just know how to communicate together and the resulting work is really significant?
I think Kenny and I right now, honestly, have like the strongest work relationship because I don't know. I think in the last week we've sent back and forth like 8 records in the past couple weeks, and the notes have gotten less and less and more just like I just run with it, and I know what he wants and he knows where I'm going to take it, so it's a lot less of a conversation. What's like
a note that he's given you that like just sticks out as like being either funny or just like very specific?
He was on stream a few weeks ago.
Oh, and you joined him on his Twitch.
Yeah. And I sent him the Ice Cold Bishop record, Dickie Suit.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason the routing had fucked up. And from what I was hearing, it was right. But when I bounced it out and sent it to him, normally I would double check that, but I was just like, oh, he's like listening right now. I was like, he should hear this. So I sent it to him. I was like, listen, he listened on live stream. And he was like, what the fuck is this? And obviously, like, I like the second he played it, I was like, fuck. And I was like fixing it at the same time. But it was just funny that like, because that happens in the process, like you do enough songs and there's going to be one where you just fucking beef something and you got to fix it. And it's just funny that it happened, publicly.
Alex, when you and I spoke on your Instagram Live the other day, you were talking about the fact that you were not the biggest fan of meals anymore.
Yeah.
You had sort of given up on the idea.
Are you into like smoothies?
That's I'm thinking about it.
Well, what was the thinking behind this whole thing?
So back in the pre-coronavirus days, I don't think my days became defined by A, when I went to bed, or B, the meals that I ate.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I went to bed and the food I ate was all defined by the work I was doing or the extracurricular stuff I was taking part in, like going out or hanging with friends or, whatever.
Yeah, being a human being.
Yeah, being a human being, doing human social things.
Yeah.
And now my days are work around my meals and, when I'm deciding to end the day.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm just like, okay, cool. Time for tomorrow. It's not I'm tired because I've been working 14 hours or because I was out until like 4 a.m., whatever. It's okay, I'm done and there's nothing else to do today,
Yeah.
Or I just don't want to do anything else today, so I might as well just go to sleep now. But the same things with food. It's like I wake up and I'm like, damn, now I have to plan out this meal. And then the second I finish breakfast, I'm thinking about lunch and like what I'm going to do for that and dinner and so on and so forth and grocery shopping. And I'm just over it. It's not even that like I like my cooking. I like my girlfriend's cooking. I think we do a really good job and we try to keep it like interesting. But
yeah, but it's that you have structure in your day, whereas before you never did. And so it's like there's an adjustment to that.
And the structure is the food, and I'm angry at it.
Alex, you said that you had questions for us.
Oh, did you guys think about my podcast idea, the new one for you?
I don't remember it.
Explain it to the people.
The morning after one where if you guys have a one night stand, the other brother is waiting in the living room in the morning.
Well,
to interview the
girl coming out.
Well, Alex,
the lucky lady.
Here's
how does this work when no one's coming over? We're not allowing anyone into this house.
I'm saying when the world goes back to normal. This
normal?
should be your first priority.
What is normal anymore?
I mean,
meals aren't normal anymore. I'm pulling my hair out, Alex. Every day is the same. All we do is go to sleep, eat meals, podcast, and repeat. I don't know about your podcast idea. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. You keep it in.
Imagine this is the idea that sent me over the edge.
Like Eric quit. Yo, by the way, that idea was actually done as an SNL sketch.
Oh really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was Andy Samberg as like the kid,
Yeah, that's
and he
right.
would interview all the kids, all the guys that came over to see his mom.
The potential stepfathers for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great sketch.
It's a great
Alex,
sketch.
we love you. Take care of yourself. I'm glad that you're back to whatever the new normal is. I'm glad you're there, that you're not sick every day.
Yeah, I hope that you get sponsored by like some smoothie company
That'd be great.
or
That'd be
whatever.
awesome.
Like, what was the one that was big like as a meal replacement plan like a couple years ago?
I don't even know.
And it was some like Silicon Valley company where they were like, yeah, like you get everything you want from a drink, and everybody who drank it was like, this is great, except it's the most unsatisfying thing because it's not actual food.
Yeah, it's just sludge.
It's just sludge. I hope you get
That's what I
sponsored by
want.
Just
That's all
Sludge.
I want now. I want something to take the power that food has over me away.
It's like a
I
robot.
want to take the power back.
That's
You
right.
just want oil.
Alex,
Yeah.
thank you for everything. Continue to do great work, whether we're in this pandemic phase or beyond. We'll be checking in. Be well, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
And now, Jeff, let's go up to the Bronx and link up with our friend Cruz.
Cruz.
You're
Cruz!
What up?
what's up, my guys?
What's happening? How are you?
Blessed, man. Trying to stay away from all this conspiracy.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go.
Which conspiracy theory are we talking about?
Like, all the corona shit, man. It's just like overwhelming.
I like that Cruz just like backs off of it. He was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
he was like, you want to know what? Like, we all know that this was definitely injected in people
Right.
by like lab technicians, but
or the cell phone companies.
we all know. I just don't want to put it out there on your podcast. Got it. Thank you, Cruz.
yeah.
We're
Yeah,
calling
I don't wanna
Cruz on a
put my
landline
sources-
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to put my sources on blast. You know what I mean? I live by a certain code, gentlemen.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Area codes. You
Yeah.
see what it is.
It was ludicrous.
That's right.
Cruz, by the way, I just wanted to wish you a happy Meek Mill's birthday.
Yeah.
Which is the reason that we have reached out, as we all agreed.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. He's a legend,
I hope that Meek turns it up today,
Yeah. Wait,
Oh,
so
he is.
are you
He's gonna
are
be in
you
the crib turning up with
There we
family,
go.
so that's
are
good.
you joining his Zoom chat? I know you said that you've turned down many other Zooms.
Yeah, I'm not big on the Zoom wave, man. Even like, close friends of mine invited me to their parties, and I'm just like, bro. I mean, we've run into each other at a few parties. It's nothing like, just popping up on people in person.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, with
virtual
the
party
Zoom,
stuff.
you can't really like take the person to the side and have a real conversation. You have to be like there with the 40 other people.
Or even like
Facts.
enjoy the music in a real way.
Yeah.
Like everybody just
Yeah.
sort of sits with their computer in the lap, just like sort of looking at the other 40 people in there, and it's like,
Right.
then you ghost.
Technical difficulties and all that. I can't take it, man.
Cruz,
Take it.
every week. So we FaceTime with our mom. We check in with our brother, our aunt, all that. Except once a week, our mom and our aunt have gotten into this thing where they're like, we have to Zoom together, right? The whole family
Yeah.
gets together. Has that happened to you, and have you gotten exhausted with that? Even though it's not work, it feels like work.
No, what's crazy is I FaceTime with my mom and dad every day so
Yep.
they could have time with the baby because
Yeah.
they're in Georgia.
Yeah.
My father-in-law every Sunday, because we're at our in-laws, like we're in this high-rise apartment building that we needed to get away from because
Oh.
the Heights was like super hot with the COVID shit. So, but anyway, Sundays he does his family session, and there's like it looks like the Brady Bunch, like it's crazy. So it's cool though. Like I like how technology is keeping people relatively united, and you can kind of I've had conversations with family members and relatives that I haven't had because of timing and scheduling and stuff. So on the brighter side, like it's actually kind of cool. So it definitely doesn't bother me, you know.
That's good. On the work tip, have you found that this has brought work to a stop, or have you been working more now than ever? Like, where are you in that sort of range?
I mean, with working, we're just kind of plotting. You know what I mean? Like just trying to stay sharp to where when things kind of start picking up, we can attack and have things mapped out. It's a great time for the team to stay in tune and come up with a plan of action. So I've talked to Meek, not every day, but just, every once in a while we check in, we talk about records, and he's anxious to get back to work and stuff. But we have stuff we had already finished that we're like, yo, let's start, figuring out a strategy and stuff like that. So
how do you feel as a professional engineer, somebody who is very valuable when you're in the room with an artist? Now you have all of these guys who are at home who for the first time are ordering computers and speakers to their crib, and they are engineering their own sessions by themselves. How do you feel about them, leaning on engineers by the phone, or even taking the step of learning it themselves and just doing trial and error?
Do you feel like my barber when I was like, hey, can I FaceTime you when I try and cut my hair?
Yeah, I swear I almost did that to my barber, but I can't. So, but honestly, I think it's great that there are artists out there, including Meek. Like, Meek has his own setup in the crib. He's called and we've run through a few troubleshooting things, but I love that they can kind of get more in tune with our process, because it makes it better when we do get back in for them to kind of communicate like, yo, now I know more of a hands-on side of your job. And not only that, but they appreciate it more because now they see how complicated it is. It's not like as easy as we make it look. So that is the tough thing. When you do something and make it look easy, people figure that it is easy. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like double-edged, because there are people that are just flat out not working at all, and their artists are just trying to figure it out themselves instead of them being able to work. But for others, it's a good opportunity for me. I've been around the Dream Chasers more than family for the amount of time that I've been with them, just on a total, so this has just been such a blessing in disguise. And the silver lining is I can be in daddy mode full time. So my friend Emix joked with me yesterday. He said, you've had the craziest extension on your paternity leave. And it's not even a bad thing. It's actually been approved, so
that's really special though. These times are ones that you can't miss out on, and you're lucky enough to be there and witness this. I got a general question for you. When you have an artist come in, let's say they're a singer or maybe they're a rapper, and there's a big difference in their dynamic. They're loud or they're soft. Do you ride the knob, or do you give them a lot of headroom when you go and record and just assume a low level, knowing that you can always raise it afterwards?
I mean, there's always, I don't necessarily ride the gain, just because you can find that sweet spot where if they, hit a certain level, it's still going to compress where they're not going to clip or distort. So just knowing who it is you're going to work with for the day, and just getting kind of a general gain staging going so that you're not having to go back. And I feel like if you're having to ride the gain too much, something wasn't set up properly. Just in my experience, I think you kind of are overworking. It's cool if that's their process, but I feel like you're just doing too much. I try to be as easy as possible, get it set up, and it's kind of it's good, with Meek, obviously it's locked in before he gets in the room, but with guest artists and stuff, once they jump in the booth, you kind of make that one adjustment and you're all set.
Well, I mean, but how for the intro, how many different pieces was that, or was that all one take?
The championship intro?
Yeah.
What's crazy about that is it actually, that's Meek's highlight of his album typically. I mean, this one, he had way more going on than we've ever had, but he still is very, he takes a lot of time perfecting his intro. So it took a couple iterations actually over time. So the Air of the Night intro you hear is not the actual intro we started with. It kind of took months to figure out, all right, let's change the beat. Now I'm going to say this now that certain things are happening or whatever. So it took a while for it to come together. And I think that's why it came out so incredible, just because he took so much time and crafted it, and even worked hands-on with Nick Paps, his producer, just kind of working on the sequencing and how he wanted the instruments to come in. And then the build-ups, where the beat should drop out. Like, that's kind of some of the things that are unspoken about Meek's process that, once he's really, really into a record, it's incredible to watch him really be hands-on and explain kind of what he wants and see it through.
Yeah. We know how close you are with Young Guru. What did you think when you first heard Jay Electronica and Jay-Z's album?
When I first heard it,
you have heard it, right?
Come on. We were actually in the studio, me and Meek, and we shut everything down. He wanted to hear it right away. Like, I was glad because I was kind of itching to hear it as well.
Yeah.
I was just excited. I wasn't listening to it initially on a technical level, but the fact that, that those guys made it happen, I thought was incredible for the culture, just as a fan of Jay Electronica's for so many years, that, Jay came in as a big brother and said, bro, you're going to finish your project.
Yeah.
Let me come in and alley-oop you. I thought was amazing, so on a technical level, I know Guru had the battle with, like, so many records were older and, things like that, but he definitely put it together. And
well, does that mean that like the sound has changed through the years, so maybe you have to, like, sort of affect one song that may be older to match a newer one?
Yeah, he had a lot of challenges. I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it. Like,
of course, yeah,
for him to be able to tell his story, but, like, he had a lot of challenges where, I mean, imagine how long Jay Electronica's been working on music that we haven't heard. So, the way that he was able to, piece it together and make it, listenable to the audience, and I thought it was. I mean, I'm still bumping it. You know what I mean? Like, I have my favorites, but it's pretty incredible when the way they put that together.
When you put together a project, is Guru the first person you call to sort of get some notes back?
Not really. Like, we work pretty tight in-house. What I like to do is I have really great relationships with a lot of the producers we work with. Mm-hmm. So I like to keep in touch with them and just, bounce ideas off of Meek and then run it back to the producer and try to, craft as much as possible, curate what exactly Meek's vision is for a particular project. When we first start a new album, it's just like, let's just crack open some beats, and then a couple foundation records come about, and it's like, all right, cool, this is the direction of the record. Let's try to find this to fill in a hole or whatever, and who can we get to do that. So me and Guru talk a lot. Like, that's my big brother. Like, we talk a lot just in terms of things that I go through that he's been through millions of times, that that he kind of, like, gives me advice to keep me sane in the process, and lets me know that I'm not the only one going through certain things in terms of, like, because there's a lot of politics too, and it's not just like, if it was strictly creation, it'd be amazing, but there's always kind of, there's the politics, and you got to deal with certain people, and it's got to go through certain chains. So it's not like a straight road. I mean, I don't think anything that is that comes out as a masterpiece or a legendary is ever that easy to put together. But
for sure. So if you're relying on Guru for some questions on the music side, who do you rely on for advice now that you're a parent? Who do you turn to when you're like, yo, is this normal, or is this does this ever happen to any other human beings?
Yeah, I mean, I call my family, man. Like, I deal with, my mother, my father, my in-laws, my wife's family. We just kind of are super tight knit as a family, and little things that happen, they already kind of know. Like, there's a lot of Latin secret, like secrets. Like, when she hiccups, she put, like, a wet paper on her head. I thought it was crazy, but it actually kind of works sometimes. So, there's, like, a lot of things you start figuring out, and you trust your family's judgment because they've raised so many kids. I mean, how it is on our side with our families are pretty massive.
Well, you're living at your in-laws right now. How much stuff did you bring from your place over there? Like, are you missing any of your, like, shoe collection? Like, like, what?
Yeah, the essential things.
I'm in my Puma slides like every day. I don't even put sneakers on.
Oh, sponsored Cruz.
That's
This is
right.
crazy.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So
tell them your size
like
right now so they can send you some more. You know.
Oh man, listen. Nah, I'm not gonna. So I have like a small setup. There's a guest room that I just took over as a studio room. So I have a small setup, and I've been Amazoning different things. I got a freaking like the ad that pops up about the stars and stuff on the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
If you ever got that, so
yeah.
I they sucked me into it.
So wait.
So,
you're like
yeah,
maybe
I
I do
totally
need that.
down.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you are temporarily in your in-laws, but you're acting like you're going to be there forever. Altering the ceiling.
Easy. Yeah, it'll be easy to break down, but yeah, that's all I brought really was all the studio stuff and a couple of essentials, but it's a comfortable space to get away and do some stuff, work on some music.
Are you still in the city?
Yeah, I'm in BX right now.
Okay.
Do you make it outside at any point during the day or night just to get some fresh air?
I'm in the backyard. That's it.
Oh yeah. It's a wild time. Have you found that it's like completely changed your life, or is this been like I'm inside a lot anyway? It isn't so crazy.
Nah, it has. It's affected me a lot because like I said, the silver lining is the family time, the time with my daughter, my wife. But I mean, obviously you have those days where you're just like stir crazy and you want to get out, even just to kind of go run and go get a haircut. And I'll never take that for granted ever again. I'll probably never be late for another haircut appointment. But it's a time to reflect though. That's what I've been doing a lot of, aside from just kind of plotting and planning on the music side, is just reflecting on the journey and everything that I've been through and people that I've met along the way. And just, I mean, it's insane. You don't really have time to do that regularly because we're so much in motion. But
how do you not look at the bigger picture? I think it's so easy to like think, oh my God, we're going to be inside for this many months, or that my life is going to change in this certain way. How do you stay focused when you wake up in the morning and not like sort of let everything take you over?
I mean, there's like a routine here where, I mean, Leah's the boss baby, so like she basically she straightens out like the core of the day. It's all based around her schedule of waking up and her eating schedule and sleeping,
hiccuping and
bath time and all that. So she's the core of the day, but in between that, it's just calling different producers and staying in tune with the music. At first, I had disabled Instagram when this first started because I was just like, I can't. And then live started going crazy. Yeah. And I was getting calls from all my friends. My dad would call me like, yo, you see D-Nice, he's losing it. Like, he's about to hit $100,000 like on IG Live. So I enabled it again. I'm doing that. But,
Did you disable it because you're like, I don't really want to know what the rest of the world is going through?
No, I'm not cynical. I was actually just kind of, like I said, when I first picked up, is just, all the conspiracies and, all the crazy stories that were happening and people thought they had it all figured out. And I'm like, we have to kind of, take it for what it is and just deal with it for now. I can't deal with the people that are like, yo, they know the solution and this is how it happened. I'm like, bro, it is what it is at this point. We got to deal with it. We got to be safe.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Cruz, we love you. Take care of you and yours. Stay creative while you're inside and stay safe. And listen, we'll be checking in on you. You take care. Love to you and yours, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, love, guys. Appreciate it.
Shout out to Cruz. Shout out to Alex Tumay. And shout out to Leslie Brainwave. Jeff, are we back tomorrow?
We are back every day forever.
As always, guys, not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.